Hello. I'm a woman in my 30s who worked for the government as ordinary civil service worker. I was raised in an average middle-class family. I would describe myself as easygoing, without any strong attitude, and able to assimilate well with other people. I don't stand out particularly, but I do have one particular trait that sets me apart from others: strong physical strength. I inherited this from my parents, and it was evident during my school years where I excelled in physical tests and was often recommended to become an athlete. After graduating, I developed another special quality: a strong work ethic. Initially, I was just going with the flow as a regular civil servant, but after seeing my experienced coworkers giving their best in their respective positions, I was inspired to become a professional and take pride in my work every day. I was proud to contribute to the well-being of our society and pushed myself to the limit, despite potential dangers. However, an incident occurred that hurt my pride, and that is the subject of my story today. When I settled into my job as a civil service worker, I got married to a man I was dating. He was introduced to me by an acquaintance and came from a poor family with a single mother and an unmarried older brother. Despite his upbringing, he was a warm and hard-working person, much like his mother. When we decided to get married, I met his mother for the first time and found her to be just as warm and welcoming as my husband. She even prepared a delicious meal for me, which I tried my best to reciprocate. I hope the food is to your liking. They are all very delicious. You are an excellent cook, I complimented her. That's fortunate. I have been cooking all my life, so I should at least do that much. Since we're talking, if I had been born now, I would have gotten a great job like you. So I regret it, somewhat, she replied humbly. You're too generous with your compliments. Of course I take pride in my job, but to others it's just a civil service job. Also, many people are very strict about hierarchy, but those people are wrong. In this world, people like you are very important. I expressed my gratitude. Thank you, that means a lot to me. I have to be honest, our financial situation is not that good. We don't have anyone particularly talented in our family, so I'm very grateful to have a daughter-in-law who works for the government doing important work and becoming a member of our family. I was so moved by my mother-in-law that tears filled up in my eyes. I didn't know how I ate and just swallowed my food, trying not to cry. In fact, the day before I came to meet with my mother-in-law, I had a bad experience at work, where my colleagues and I were treated with disrespect by a rude person in public who filed a complaint. So my spirits were down. Thus, my mother-in-law's kind words uplifted my self-esteem. I could imagine a picture of my happy married life that popped up in my mind automatically. As I expected, the marriage started off very smoothly. What about conflicts with in-laws? How about the pressure to have babies? None of that existed with my in-laws. There was only one thing my mother-in-law wanted from me: my health. As if she was trying to make up for having only 2 sons. Her love for me as her daughter-in-law was great. When I couldn't attend family events, large or small due to my busy schedule at work, she tried hard not to make me feel burdened and accommodated me with kind smiles. I also cared for her as best as I could, to the point where my own parents were almost jealous of my mother-in-law. I often felt that I was the luckiest bride in the world, as my marriage was a very happy one. At least, it was at that time. The ominous cloud started to cast a shadow over my happy marriage when my husband's older brother, who was still a bachelor, talked about getting married. His future wife had an excellent job as a CPA and was the only daughter from an affluent family background. When I first learned of this, I saw my mother-in-law's attempt at hiding her happy smiles. At that time, I did not worry at all. I had witnessed my mother-in-law's struggle with poverty and tried to help her once in a while, so it was good news for me too. I thought that I had gained one more person who could help her, along with myself. I was even happier that my mother-in-law would now worry less about her oldest son. Not too long after the talk of marriage started, a happy piece of news followed. Unfortunately, I had to work overtime on the day that both sides of the family were meeting, so I couldn't attend. However, my mother-in-law told me about it, as if she was worried, after she returned from meeting her future in-laws. She said, "I heard that she was a CPA, but the more I see her, the more I want her as my son's wife. Her family seems to be very affluent. Is that right? That's great. Now you don't have to worry about your first son. I replied, yes, but I'm worried about myself now. She reassured me, why? If you're worried about a gap between our families, you don't need to worry. There's no other mother-in-law like you in this world. You're the best. You're the best, that's not it. How should I say this? My in-laws told me that they would give me a gift. Is that gift something you like? It's not even a matter of liking or not liking. Can you imagine? They're going to buy a 5-story building in my name as a wedding gift. Wow, what a great surprise. Is it that much? That's why I'm worried. It's too big of a gift to just accept it. But then I can't ignore the love of those two parents who are thinking of their only daughter. So what should I do? That day, I could only say that she should decide as she wishes. It wasn't something that I should meddle in, and moreover, because I could tell that she had already decided to accept the building happily. And as expected, my mother-in-law ended up accepting the 5-story studio apartment building from my new sister-in-law's parents as a wedding gift. I didn't think then, nor now, that it was wrong of my mother-in-law to accept that building as a gift. As she said, she couldn't ignore her in-laws' kind consideration and refuse it that easily. I also could understand the love of one's parents, who want to give something more to their one and only daughter's marriage. I'm sure everyone can understand how parents' love for their children is universal. However, the problem was none other than my mother-in-law. She was the nicest person, but she started to change. She started to change exactly on the date that the title of the building was transferred to my mother-in-law's name. To put it more accurately, it was a few days before the title of the building was transferred to her. From the very moment she went to inspect the building with her own eyes, that she started to change. The building was newly built and was even located in a great location. It was right next to the commercial zone, full of offices, and most of the tenants were office workers. So when compared with other industrial or college sectors, the management of the building was much easier. On top of that, it was a very popular studio apartment where there was a long line of renters on a waiting list already. All of the rent money naturally would go to the new owner, which was my mother-in-law. When her title was registered, the rental deposit bank account was transferred to my mother-in-law's name as well. Her new daughter-in-law's job as a CPA was the envy of everyone. Now that everyone admired my mother-in-law for getting the studio apartment building, where she now had a taste of money and a new daughter-in-law who was a CPA, having me, who came from an average middle-class family and was an ordinary civil service office worker, must have seemed unimportant. Right after my husband's older brother and his wife had their wedding, her minor and major preferential treatment between her new daughter-in-law and me began. Your daughter-in-law has started accounting audits and is very busy these days. Oh yes, why is your answer so tepid? What? It's so frustrating, it's no wonder. That's why you're just a civil service worker. Mother, I'm not a mind reader. You need to speak clearly so that I can understand. I'm saying that you should go to your sister-in-law's house often to help her out. I can understand if we lived in the same house, but we live separately. You're something. Don't you think her work as a CPA is a lot more difficult and busy? As a family, wouldn't it be good to help each other? I'm sorry, but honestly, I don't know why you're acting like this toward me these days. You know that I'm also very busy at work. Don't talk back. Drop by your sister-in-law's house before and after work and help out with housework as often as you can. Also, next week I need you to do a major preparation for winter and do the bottling. So, if you need to, take a vacation from work. I can't have the CPA who's doing very important work do the housework. Then, is it true that you're treating her differently from me? I will take it that you will do that for me, and I'm going now. Sure, I didn't mind when my mother-in-law said we are a family and we needed to help each other. However, when she asked me to do the housework for the new sister-in-law, it made me very upset. It was more because I could clearly see that my mother-in-law was discriminating against me in favor of her new daughter-in-law. Whether I knew it or not, my mother-in-law's blatant mistreatment towards me became worse as time went by. All the good things and affection from my mother-in-law went to my new sister-in-law. I became the ugly duckling in the family. Everything bad in this world was my fault, and my mother-in-law's disdain became mine. Her constant talk about money, gratitude for the building, and envy of the Affleck family only worsened. Whenever she opened her mouth, she would talk about the studio apartment building, and directly tell me that marriage is not free, constantly comparing my job as a civil servant to my sister-in-law's job as a CPA. I didn't understand why I had to do it, but whenever she did, I had to confront her and defend myself. I told her that even though I was a civil service worker, it didn't mean I was uneducated. I graduated from a good university, just like my new sister-in-law. And even though our family's wedding gifts were not on the same level as the 5-story studio apartment building, we still did enough. So I asked her not to disrespect our family anymore. No matter how much I tried to defend myself, her mistreatment did not stop, and eventually what I had accumulated burst out open. My mother-in-law, who had been abusive toward me, even came to my work. While I was barely having lunch with my exhausted colleagues, she brought up my sister-in-law again. "Didn't you hear that your sister-in-law is moving to a new house?" "Yes, I heard. So, won't you take some time off from work? You're being too much." "Really? Do you want me to pack and move your stuff?" She told me that she was just going to call the movers and go to work. The person who was moving said that she plans to leave it up to the movers. But why do I have to take time off from my busy schedule to be there when the owner won't even be there? Am I a servant for this family? Hey, did I say that you need to move their stuff? That's what you're saying? No, since the movers will handle the stuff, I'm saying that you should go there to do some cleaning and mopping so that there won't be any sick house syndrome. No, I can't. I can't use my unscheduled time off. If I do that, my coworkers, who are already overworked due to a lack of staff, will have a harder time, and that could lead to an injury. Even if I could, I wouldn't want to do that. If you're done talking, please leave. I'm in the middle of working. What do you mean you're busy? You were just leisurely shoving food into your mouth. For us, eating and resting are part of our work responsibilities. Don't talk nonsense and interfere with my work. Please just leave now. What's so hard about moving your bodies as civil servants? How could it be compared to a CPA who has to wrestle with paperwork at the desk? In that instant, my coworkers who were eating appeared perturbed by what she said. Even though we faced all kinds of danger, we have persevered by holding on to our pride for doing our job. But my mother-in-law just squashed that. Even though I tried to get her out of my workplace, she acted so brutally by talking loudly as if she wanted everyone to hear. Why? Did I say something wrong? Stop it and just leave. Can't you see everyone is listening? Can't you see they're all upset? Was I wrong to say that if a civil servant job is so great and respected by the public, then it should at least be up to the caliber of my first daughter-in-law who is a CPA? For a mere civil servant, how could you take so much time to eat? As a result, everyone there stopped eating and left to get away from her, crushing my self-esteem. Self-esteem that I had been suppressing as much as I could all this time. I did not work so hard, even being injured, to help promote the well-being for our society and public safety. To hear her say those things, these people didn't expect to be honored, but at least they did not deserve such treatment from her. My colleagues and I couldn't let it go by. In order to maintain my work ethic and my colleagues' pride, it was something that we could not ignore. Right, a CPA? Yes, it's an excellent job. Money, a studio apartment, being proud to be the mother-in-law of a CPA. Of course you feel you have great support backing you. So what? Is that bad? The only thing that's bad is the person who yields that indiscriminately in a mean way. Like you, mother. What? Do you think how you talk to your mother-in-law is the right attitude? How dare you say that when you don't even know your own station? Do you know where this place is? Do you know what kind of people we are? It's obvious that you are all mere government pawns. The laws that were made to protect these mere government pawns are more powerful than you think. I'm warning you that if you don't leave here in 3 seconds, I will make sure you know how scary that law is. Did you just say that to mean that you plan to sever ties? Even if you sold your soul for money, you need to say it accurately. You are the one who severed the tie first, and I'm sure in the future, there will be a time when you will need to be held by us and be thankful for it. You bitch. How dare you continue to be disrespectful to me? Do you want to see your mother-in-law collapse and die? Say that you will die elsewhere. This place is not where you can easily say that you will die or whatever. If you understand that, please walk out with your own 2 feet before you get arrested and dragged out of here. It's the last consideration afforded to you as someone who was once your daughter-in-law. Eventually, my mother-in-law was practically kicked out. Still, she was trying to maintain her pride and snickered her way out. That's how I ended up severing my ties with my in-laws. My husband, he had been asking me to keep my distance from his family. He had been complaining about his mother, who mistreated me, and often clashed with her to defend me. When he heard about my arguments with his mother, he complimented me for it. I finally found some peace after severing ties with my mother-in-law, but her actions in front of my colleagues left a big scar, and I had to work very hard to help them heal. Thanks to my colleagues, they quickly tried to comfort me, saying that it was okay. Actually, we had seen those ridiculous people often. After a short period of suffering, we finally returned to our normal daily lives. As always, we tried our best for the well-being of our society. As for me, after long conflicts, I was very happy to encounter a peaceful time. However, accidents always come without notice. After several years of not seeing my husband's family due to a sudden accident, our status took a turn. There was a big fire in the 5-story studio apartment, which happened to be my mother-in-law's apartment. Fortunately, in the past I had strongly advocated for a fire alarm system, so it was well set up and the tenants were able to escape from the fire smoothly. However, my mother-in-law, who was the type to sleep deeply and not notice if someone carried her away, was the only one who didn't make it out. By the time she woke up from coughing, her room was engulfed in strong gusts of fire. She was helplessly facing her death, and in her thoughts, all her past actions were flashing before her. But then, a firefighter came through the fire, put on his oxygen mask, and rescued her with all his might. Thankfully, she was able to avoid death, and as soon as she was discharged from the hospital, she ran towards me. I thought it was the end. I thought I was gonna die. But as I was dying, your face appeared and I realized I had been doing terrible things to you. I didn't even realize how shameful my actions were. So you came to apologize? Of course, throughout my treatment at the hospital, I felt guilty. It's fortunate that you don't have any burn scars. People who have never been burned wouldn't understand how painful it is. But it's not fortunate for me. I haven't even been punished for all the wrongs I have done to your colleagues. I don't know why I did such terrible things when there's no daughter-in-law like you in this world. I don't know if your colleagues will forgive me just because I am apologizing now, but I still want to apologize. Wait a minute, on your arm, perhaps? It's not that bad. I am slightly burned, but it will be okay after putting some burn ointment on it. What I'm trying to say is, was it you who tried to save me that day? My mother-in-law was about to faint from asphyxiation when her 5-story building caught on fire. She met a firefighter who bravely threw himself into the burning fire to save her. As she was losing consciousness, she saw my face, the daughter-in-law who had severed ties with her because of the firefighter. She thought it was a dream. She thought that God was showing my face to scold her for all the wrongs she had done to me and the firefighters. But when she was rescued from the fire, she realized it was all real. She repented her wrongdoings, and should she be given a new life, she vowed that she would apologize to me and my firefighter colleagues. That is why, as soon as she was discharged from the hospital, she looked for me first. I thought it was only a dream, but my memory served me right. It wasn't a dream, was it? You don't need to feel sorry. Personally, I consider it a prize. It's a prize that I'm thankful for, which made me help save a life from death. What made you jump in? You must have hated me so much. Also, you could have died from saving me. 'Cause I'm a firefighter. Yes, I'm a civil servant working as a firefighter for the government, for the public. It's commonly called a firefighter. The firefighter who must risk one's life with the principle of trying to save a dying life. And with a strong work ethic, we are even willing to sacrifice our lives. Even though I had severed my ties with my mother-in-law who had committed a big wrong against me when she was facing death, I was just one firefighter at that time. When she heard me say that, she hugged me tight. Then she applied ointment to the burns on my arm that I had incurred while saving her from the fire with her own hands, and repeatedly apologized to me. She also apologized for looking down on me and my colleagues by comparing us with her daughter-in-law, who is a CPA and everything else. The despise I felt against my mother-in-law steadily receded. I thought that being a family meant that where will you be staying temporarily? I will have to look for a motel or something. Until your new place is set, why don't you stay with us temporarily? That's okay. Because the studio apartment has been burned down, I am penniless, because I didn't know the fire insurance had expired, and I missed renewing it. Temporary could turn into permanent time. I have my conscience. I don't want to burden you with that. Well, I'm saying this just in case, but Mother, do you remember the gift I gave you? Gift? Remember the gift I gave to you on your birthday? The year that Scott and Joyce got married? I got you fire insurance on your studio apartment building. I know, how could I not know? However, why? I am after all a firefighter. Did you think I ignored safety-related matters? What? That insurance? It's still effective. After you've reimbursed for the tenant's damages, you'll have enough to cover the tenant's deposits from the insurance money. So you won't be penniless. Then my mother-in-law turned her head away from me and started weeping. She said that she was so grateful to me for saving her life, but she didn't know that after all her bad behavior towards me, she had not expected me to go that far. She said she didn't know how to repay me. I just gave her a warm hug. If you keep saying that, I would appear to be a bad person, since it's not that special thing I did as a firefighter who should look out for the safety of one's family. It was my duty, so don't feel burdened. However, you need to promise me one thing. You must promise that you will not treat me differently from Joyce. That would be enough for me. Of course, I have a new life because of you. If I am to live as a human being, I must not make the same mistake. If I am truly sorry and sincerely thankful to you, all the loud havoc and tears of the past finally got buried. My mother-in-law compensated all her tenants for the damages from the fire, and with the balance, she bought a small condo and is living there. She had been revived from a potential death and a total loss of her property. With such a strong whipping of disaster, she repented deeply. She renewed herself like the way before as one of the kindest persons in the world. She often drops off snacks at our fire station about her discrimination between her first and second daughter-in-law. Of course, there is none. She loves us both equally. Her love is so great that there are awkward moments because she brags about her firefighter daughter-in-law to her friends at every chance she gets. Next to you, there is a firefighter who is always there to save someone's dying life in a fire by sacrificing their own lives. However, they need your help. Whenever you hear a fire truck or ambulance sirens, please cooperate by quickly moving your car to the side for them. Your kind alertness and consideration are very helpful to the firefighters. Every one of you who allows the golden time for a dying life is a true hero. I am not a good writer, but thank you for listening to my story. Please stay safe. Please cheer for me and share your words of wisdom in the comments section. Liking and subscribing is a big help to me. Have a wonderful day.